Rise of the Moors is based in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. They say their goal is informing all Moors of their political status here in the U.S. The group also believes that Moorish Americans are the, quote, aboriginal people of the land to which the sovereign power is vested. State Police Colonel Christopher Mason says today that troopers are trained to deal with these types of situations.
I didn't have any knowledge about this particular specific group. However, the state police, it is not unusual for us to counter people that have sovereign citizen ideologies. I'm not saying that this group does, but we have had those encounters before in the past. We train to those encounters. We very much understand, I guess, the philosophy that underlies that mindset. And we train our officers actually at the academy on these interactions and how to de-escalate those situations and how to engage with people that have that philosophy and mindset and resolve those situations, in a peaceful manner.
The group has been very active on social media, posting videos and photos quite frequently. Our chief investigator, Cheryl Fiandaca, takes a closer look now at the group's online activity.
Investigation of the Rise of the Moors organization. And just in case you didn't see the first video, we have 3 guns.
This is Jamal Latimer, also known as Talib Abdullah Bey. He posted this YouTube video just last month. Sources say Latimer is the self-proclaimed head of the group of heavily armed men arrested on Route 95 in Wakefield.
They've identified police and anybody who wanted to place them under arrest as terrorists. And they talked about tactically attacking police officers who were attempting to do their duty.
We have the right to travel as long as we're not making any unnecessary stops.
Latimer live-streamed the standoff with state police and online claims to be the Moorish American Consular Post Head, part of the Moorish American Arms and the co-founder of Rise of the Moors, which the website says is a non-profit educational group.
I've been elected Grand Sheik of the Gangster territory, which most people know it as Rhode Island.
Latimer also claims he and his followers are not U.S. citizens, are American nationals, fly the Moroccan flag, and told police they were going to a training camp in Maine.
You can just attribute to rhetoric. What they're saying after they get caught is simply an attempt to position themselves publicly as poor, unfortunate people that are just exercising their constitutional rights. There's a thin veil over what they're really doing, which is training as terrorists.
The Southern Poverty Law Center says followers of the Moorish sovereign citizens movement believe they are independent of the authority of state and federal government.
When you look at what happened last night and you add to that the video that I just saw from a month ago, these are dangerous guys that have to be taken very seriously.
Latimer was arrested by the Rhode Island State Police in early 2020 for obstructing a police officer, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest. Court records show the case appears to be pending. Rhode Island State Police tell us they are well aware of the group and, along with Maine officials, are in communication with the Massachusetts State Police. Cheryl Fiandaca, WBZ News.
Stay with W.
Someone decided that they wanted my house, so they sawed off the locks, put their own locks on, and he is now occupying the home. And we are out here. I've just been waiting out here with the cops at the neighbor's house while the SWAT team plans to move in and remove him. Yeah, that's been my day. How's yours? I was randomly but not randomly targeted by a terrorist group that doesn't solve or follow any of our rules and would be violent in efforts to steal my house. guys, I'm not even kidding. This is the literal SWAT team that was called. To get this guy out of my house. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm not even kidding you guys. We're inside safe, just so you know. Oh my God, he's walking up to the house. One of the cops, but I can't see him now because he's, do you see him? Walking up to around the side of the house. This is the negotiation portion of it. The captain explained to me they're gonna try to negotiate and have him come out of the house peaceably. If he doesn't, then they're gonna break down the door. They're armed and ready. He just like literally raised his pistol. The neighbors are really excited, but I'm just scared for him now. It's not the sexy crime Lifetime show that we're used to seeing. Everybody that I know wasn't in on it. It wasn't any weird angles. This was something for me to try to communicate a cautionary tale that is bizarre and crazy, but it's real life. It happened. This is not only a personal accomplishment for me, this is a big step in my life as someone who has been homeless before and lived in hotels. I'm not giving up without a fight. Sorry.
Greetings all, Chief Yuya here, and Will, that you're having a wonderful day today, or had a wonderful day, or you're getting ready to have a wonderful day. Whenever it is that you pick up on this vibration and this frequency, I definitely will that it's a great one for you. It's a great day, if you will. But I wanted to share something. You know, I'm showing some clips in this particular session, and I thought it was important because last cipher that I shared this past 7th day, I spoke about the timing of things and sometimes how people will prop you up and put you in position to try certain things from a legalist perspective that may not necessarily be wise, even if it may be lawful. And you see with the clip shared that these are prime examples of what it is that I was speaking about. You know, just so very, very timely. You know, after I did the 7th day session with you all, then the incident happened in New Jersey with those men who are still going through their struggles. And you know, I'm not here to say what's right or what's wrong in regards to that particular session, but maybe just to give a bit of wisdom. You know, sometimes we get into a groove with social media where there's that artificial plastic attention that's received, and we sometimes don't know, because it's such an anonymous type of experience. We really don't know why the attention is coming in the way that it's coming. You know, are people urging us forward to do certain things because they really believe in our cause? Are people urging us on to do certain things because they just want to see a train wreck and they like the whole interactive experience? It's like an interactive role-playing game. You know, if I give you enough likes and urge you towards this direction, you'll make a left or you'll make a right, so I can actually watch you crash and burn. You know, how often do people really urge people towards victory or towards healing? You know, so sometimes when we're sharing, when we're part of movements, and we're sharing every little thing that we do with those who may not be totally informed of what our cause is, the impetus for our cause, or even the deeper sciences of what we're doing. You know, they're just, you know, cheering you on uninformed, you know, or jeering You know, there's sneers and there's jeers and there's dislikes, uninformed. But either way, the court of public opinion can be extremely harmful when you're seeking to do something that's real. And one of the things that you find, and again, this is no shot against this particular community at all, but there are certain people who claim to be members of the Moorish community who a lot of times will, and I say claim, you know, not necessarily they are a part of that community, you know, but will prop people up, will sell people certain packages of paperwork, and send them out on very risky missions, misinformed or not informed enough, right? Now, one of the things that you have to be informed about when you engage in any initiative, whether it be militaristic, whether it be corporate, financial, familial, economic, which is technically all forms of warfare, whether you're building a family, whether you're building a business, whether you're building your own currency storehouses or your wealth storehouse. Technically, it's all war. It's all different forms of warfare. But nonetheless, one of the first things that you have to do is you have to scout the terrain. You know, that's why on a chess set you have a knight. And your knight makes large movements and jumps and sees let's scout. Let's see the environment. Let's do a risk assessment analysis for the actual environment and see what we're working with here. So it's not just enough to say, you know, all you have to do is sign this, file this, say this, and they can't do anything. They can't touch you. You know, a lot of times people who will give you guidance like that are sitting somewhere behind the scenes like puppet masters, and they're trying out their what they've read somewhere on you. You're the crash test dummy and don't even know it. And the thing about it, when you're dealing with any type of paperwork, whether it deal with anything that leans towards the ideas of sovereignty or ideas of even your constitutional rights, right? You have to know the environment that particular or those concepts are sitting inside of, and who's enforcing those on your behalf, or who's maybe even enforcing unlawful actions against you, right? Because you can file whatever you want, but if you don't have the ability to militaristically enforce whatever it is that you're saying is right and exact, it doesn't really matter, because you have to understand the environment that maybe the culture or the society sits inside of, that you're implanting these things. You need to understand that first. Do they really function from a lawful perspective, or is their mindset and state and mentality more mob rule? You know, are you in a county or a state or just an environment that's functioning from a mafia style, you know, motif? Or are you functioning from a place where maybe someone, you know, the attorney general for that particular state, maybe they study constitutional law and they're constitutional law freaks, right? And then of course there's some discussions around that, you know, how valid is that even, depending on what environment you're in, you know, are there certain legal environments that I may walk into where the Constitution is not valid because I'm not technically on American soil, right? So there's so many different things that you have to look at, and then you're also dealing with functioning within a society where you have people who are policy enforcers who don't really know how to deal with you. You know, one of the things that you see with the clip of the enforcement officer was that he was saying, well, you know, we train our officers to deal with these type of situations, this sovereign citizen mindset. Now, I've never listened to any of the media content or propaganda of those individuals who were arrested, you know, or who were detained rather. But I can bet they probably never called themselves sovereign citizens, right? You know, that's an alchemical rule. You know, one of the first rules of alchemy is to change something from what it was, right? So if I call myself a sovereign, if I say I'm a sovereign being, I'm a living soul, living on organic land or dry land, and you say, oh, he calls himself a sovereign citizen. Well, I didn't say that because that null and voids itself. You can't be sovereign and be a citizen at the same time. It's impossible, right? Citizenship implies slavery and servitude. Sovereignty implies the opposite, right? So there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen, right? So maybe you might have an enforcement officer who's not informed on those levels of the law, or maybe they are informed and they're using alchemy to change what it is that the person is saying they are. But nonetheless, wisdom. You do certain things that really hold no true value, possibly for your movement or where you're going, and now you make yourself a moving target for nothing. You didn't have to do that. You made yourself a moving target for no reason, right? The idea of going into a home and repossessing it because you filed some paperwork, you know, these sometimes are individuals who have this mindset that the revolution will be won via bureaucracy and red tape. You know, I'm going to file some paperwork and that's how I'm getting my freedom. And one of the things that was said by the enforcement officer, or actually the attorney, which was true, you know, a lot of times people will live as citizens, dip and dab in sovereign activities, quote unquote, because they don't really even understand what a sovereign is. And then when they get caught, then try to claim something else. Or when it doesn't work out, try to claim something else. So, you know, I say for anyone who's moving in that way, stand on principle. You know, that's why I'm not saying this is wrong, they shouldn't do it. And you notice, very tricky language from the enforcement officer. He didn't say they're wrong. He didn't say they did anything wrong per se. But they used social media posts and things. They gave you that picture and then said, these are dangerous individuals. These are dangerous individuals. Well, what have they done? Why are they dangerous individuals? What danger have they put anyone in? You know, what danger even really have they put themselves in? You know, minding their business, you know, coming from a conference to, you know, from their home, whatever. I don't know if their car broke down or whatever. Probably, you know, if they're on the side of the road with hazard lights on. But what makes them dangerous, you know, and dangerous to what? You know, is the other question. And again, I'm not advocating for either one because within our movement, we do not advocate making ourselves moving targets. We don't advocate doing things that are not fruitful towards the movement, not fruitful towards progression, just to make a point, right? I'm not saying that that's what any of these individuals have done, or anything like that. So I'm not downing anyone. You know, I'm an advocate of stand on principle. If you say this is how you're moving through the world, this is your nationality, and outside of your nationality, may also be your spiritual stance, right? Because another important thing to realize, just because someone claims a nationality doesn't necessarily mean that they're claiming a spiritual submission at the same time. So it's important, even when you're observing that you understand the difference. You know, a person can say they're American, but that doesn't imply that they're a Christian, right? So it's important to understand those type of things. But like I was saying, we got to know where the times are at. And sometimes when we're doing things that are no longer a part of the current time dispensation, you know, we're trying old things that people have already figured their way around. It's almost like being involved in some sort of activity you would like to keep private, and you get on the phone and you speak Pig Latin, as if people don't know what that is. You know, a lot of these codes have been cracked already, and they're waiting for you now, because the people maybe who have used some of these different codes and things before didn't use them in a way that helped the community. So at least if maybe that era would have ended, we could have said, okay, well, we can't use that anymore, but at least we were able to gain this as a group as a result. And now we'll have to do something, and we'll just keep leveling up. We'll just keep switching up the codes, right? You know, they'll figure them out, we know that, but we'll make sure that everybody eats and everybody behind us can get a step up as a result of what I did or what we did. But you have people who are using certain things to cash checks off of their social security card, a social security number, or to claim houses that they had no hand in building. You know, you may want to invoke certain violations of indigenous treaties. I understand that. I understand it more than the average. I really do. You know, but I also understand wisdom. You know, and sometimes you can muddy the waters without really having a square that you're standing on first. What is the square that you're foundating on? Or are you flowing in and out of these different systems when you need or when you want something, right? That's an important thing. And then when you also look at the clip, look at who you were taking that house from. So it makes you kind of think like, who are you for? Are you for your nation? And I understand if you are, that's cool, because all skin ain't kin. I get it. Are you for your nation, or are you for the upliftment of your genetic pool, right? Because this is the person who you're hurting right now. You know, someone who possibly may have more linkages and more relevancy with you than the people who you're filing that paperwork with and saying, yeah, I want this. I'm taking this house. I'm acquiring this. And then you're up in there with the windows boarded up, right? So what kind of living is that? And at the end of the day, you're doing a lot of that just to integrate back into Babylon, because you feel, or I don't want to say feel, because that's actually incorrect, because you can prove that you may have had certain agreements, covenants, and contracts with Babylon previously that they violated. So now you're cashing in on those contracts. If you can, because you're showing I'm a part of a certain heritage and you violated that, so I'm going to, you know, reacquisition this. And like I said, you got to be smart nowadays. You know, good friend of mine said something to me once, and it was very poignant, because he had it was a movie that was made about him. I'm not gonna say the movie. It was a very popular movie, right? If I said it, you know it, and you would even know who he is. But in the movie, in real life, he you know, he peddled drugs, you know, and he's well known throughout you know, a lot of urban environments, but in particular Harlem, you know, for what he did back in the 80s and the early 90s as a young person, right? And he's conscious, you know, he's not like that anymore. He's not still in the streets. I mean, everybody's old now, you know, so that's not even a thing. But I asked him one day, I said, you know, what's gangster, right? And it was a sincere question, because we use that term a lot. Yo, that's gangster, yo, da, da, da. But I was like, really, I want to know from you, because it's one of the most notable gangsters, quote unquote, that I know. And he had used the term. We were talking about something, and he used the term. So I stopped and I said, wait, what? Define that for me. And he was like, you know, gangster is how we move and how we dip in and out. That's gangster. I get it, right? Now, when you're in a certain, or when you're living your life a certain way, certain phrases make more sense to you than maybe if you're not. If you're a square, that statement won't really make any sense to you, right? How we dip in and out. What? But if you're not a square and you're living outside of the box, and you're functioning on a foundation of game, then you understand what that means, right? So dipping in and out is like hiding behind cars. You know, this I'm getting done what it is that I want. It's almost magical. I'm getting done what it is that I want to get done, and then I'm getting out of the situation before I receive any sort of repercussion. And the way I move is very private. It's very evasive, you know, and it's very covert. You know, that's what gangster is, you know. So you can apply that to a lot of things, right? You can apply that to certain factions in government that you really don't understand. You know, you look at the CIA and you're like, what is it that they really do? You know, there's things that can be applied across the board. in a lot of different ways, you know, when you really understand the definition of it. But this is a time to understand that. Yeah, we understand what you're doing. We understand that it's right, but you know what? Do you understand the beast that you're dealing with? And this beast that you're dealing with has never used logic, ever. And even though they may say they base certain laws and principles off of biblical structure, which they do, but the way they do it is so covert that you really can't tap into it. And it's very similar to what I've said before about Orisha understanding. Magic is for adults. Children may perceive the magical kingdom, but it's not until they get a certain age where they can actually, you know, tame the dragon or yield the wand, right? So if you haven't matured yourself to the point in the place of an adult, these things are not for you. You know, so even the concept of filing certain paperwork and then making certain moves based on that, whether you're discharging certain charges that may be brought against you, you know, or where you're claiming a certain sovereignty because you're part of a different nation, and, you know, as a result of that, maybe I'm really considered more of an emissary, or, you know, I'm considered more of an ambassador, you know, or whatever it is. It's all different kind of angles. Are you truly standing on principle when it comes to that, when, you know, through the rain and the sunshine? Or will you snap when they start throwing those numbers at you? You know, well, based on this, you're looking at this, you're looking at that, you're looking at that. Can you stand on principle? Because that's what that morals, or those morals and that integrity, that's for adults. Do you have that? Or will you fall back to the place of the slave? Will you fall back to the place of, let's say, the person who would be represented, right? When you go into a court and you have representation, or you have someone who's a member of the court officer who is representing you, you're considered to be a minor, and legally, right? So do you fall back to the place of the minor? And as a minor inside of that environment, you're also considered to be incompetent, right? So there's a lot that you got to know the terms, you got to understand these things. But the point I'm saying is that, do you stand on principle, or do you collapse? And before you even get involved in that, because like I said, you have people who will sit back, they may contact you via social media and say, hey, yeah, you know, you can get this paperwork package from me, $300, $500, $1,500, or I teach classes, you know, we meet up every Tuesday, every Thursday, whatever, you know, it's $500 a month, whatever, and I'll teach you how to do this and how to do that, and how to set this up, and your UCC, and yeah, but if stuff gets funky, will you come to court with me? You see, what is your name? You know, and what I mean by your name, what do you sign on things, right? And I'm not saying your Western name or your quote unquote government name, because if you're teaching these things, your government name would be the government of your own nationality. Fair enough, right? But if I needed to get in touch with you, could I, right? Sometimes people don't think that far, and unfortunately and sadly, I've seen so many people get scammed as a result, because they don't think that far. You sent them how much? You cashed at them how much? And you only know them by their screen name. You don't even actually know their name, so you can't actually find them. Or they're saying they have a business and they're located in this particular state, but you didn't go to the registry of the registrar of businesses for that particular state or corporations and look it up and see if you could actually find the business and if it was still active. You didn't do that. You just sent the money. You know, some people don't have a lot of street smarts, right? It's, you know, it is what it is, and they haven't really had real infusions of critical thinking. You know, so things happen and they're stuck. You know, so it's always sad when I see that, because I don't like too much slickery, you know. And when I say too much, you know, where you're ruining people's lives and things like that. Everybody gets got, you know. So honestly, that's just a part of living. And so when I say too much slickery, you know, just to be clear, sometimes we get a cell phone service or something and we don't read the fine print, and in one month there's like an extra $15 on our bill, Where does this come from? Oh, that was a promotional for 6 months or for 12 months, whatever. It wasn't fine for, you know. So that's just where we, you know, everybody gets got. You're going to get a little bit here and there. But when you are ruining people's lives with no level of consideration and you're just completely selfish, you know, it's hard to really feel for you, you know. But we have to start safeguarding ourselves in this time, because there's a lot of people who have been living well for a long time who are now frantic because they're seeing their system change. They're seeing their system change. And as a result, they're scrambling, you know, and certain people who are now, who they know are going to be, the balance of power is going to be slowly tipping into their hands now. They're going to do whatever they can to subjugate you, you know, so you have to learn to move in a more gangster fashion. You know, you have to kind of learn to move, you know, wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. Bottom line, you know, you have to be more strategic. You have to think more long term. You know, you have to be in it, you know, for the long term game. You know, as opposed to, I'm gonna get this now, I'm gonna file this paperwork, get this now. It's okay to take a year or two to study that paperwork and to talk to other people who've had success stories. Or find out who's sitting in the feds now because of some of that paperwork. You know, things like that. Find that stuff out and then make a determination. Is it worth it? Because there's so many illusions, and you know, if you really, really want to drop out of the illusion in totality, your life may be a lot more morbid than you may imagine. Yeah, we understand that the fiat currency is an illusion. We get that. We understand that these incorporations that they call states are illusions. We understand that even the name that you're going to put on the paperwork is an illusion. We get that. We get that. But at the same time, learning to get in and get out, to dip and dive, the way you move, is learning how to dip in and out of the matrix. You know, how to come in and out, right? Now, where are you foundating and grounding yourself in? In Zion. I'm foundating myself in Zion. You know, that there's no doubt about that. And I can dip in and out as desired or as needed, you see. And not just trying to run back and say, well, wait a minute, I'm a citizen of Zion. I'm a part of Zion. You can't do this to me, or you can't do that to me. Not saying that once things get you know, heavy or things get a little nasty around me. So that's just something I wanted to share, you know, because like I said, it relates to what it is that I spoke about on last 7th day. And like I said, later that I think it was later that day that the news story popped up, and I posted it and I said, this is what I was just talking about. You know, so definitely I would urge you, if you haven't seen that segment, go back and look at it. But we're just in a time now where Yehuda is now, you know, taking power, point blank. Yehuda, it's been prophesied, and you're now seeing the fulfillment of a lot of that. And the things we do, we have to move more wisely. You know, we had a young woman who got into a little bit of conflict because of some herbs she was ingesting. You know, the runner. I'm not even gonna say her name. You don't know who she is. And you know, a real fast runner. And you know, a lot of people are saying things, oh, it's because, you know, racism and this and that and that. You know, you're an athlete competing at that level. I understand that your mother may have transitioned, but you have to also understand that these people are looking at you. And if you want to be in their environment and you want to be a part of this demonic ritual called the Olympics, then you have to be wise. And it's to dip in and out that we do a lot of times, because we don't look at the young lady. And I know you guys are not going to like this, but we don't say, well, she's sitting there with the fake nails and the fake eyelashes and the big, bright, crazy looking weave. Is she really a part of the mentality that we're seeking to bring forward, right? Or is she representing ghetto fabulousness? right? So now she does something that's ghetto fabulous, gets caught for it, and then we start speaking like she's some sort of revolutionary. That's just insanity, though. That's just straight insanity. And I know a lot of people will have a problem with that, but that's just because a lot of people are unstudied. That's all. You don't study, and you're emotional for the moment. You find something that you can feed off of emotionally. So there's some drama. Get them. and you feed off of it, and you don't really look at the reality of what's really happening, you know, or the reality of what the person is really presenting, and the fact that, yeah, you should have did that a little better. You made a mistake. Period. You made a mistake, and we all make mistakes in life, right? So let's be accountable for it, and let's do something different next time if I want to be a part of this environment, because there's been a history of them coming after people who look like you, who do really well. I don't want to hear, oh, you know, mother died, so I had to puff. Nah, you're a world-class athlete. You should have better coping mechanisms than that. Point blank. But you, again, the nails and we can go back to FloJo and say, well, FloJo had the nails. Yeah, she did. Might have been a weave too. But at that time period, that wasn't the ghetto fabulous look. You know, you had women who looked like that, but were also in a corporate environment, right? It's clear with all the tattoos and the orange hair and the green hair. This is ghetto fabulous, period. So this is the results of that. So if you want to be in a certain environment, you want to achieve certain things, you got to move with wisdom, period. You have to move with wisdom, you know. And I know that's just something people don't want to hear because of an immaturity. But we have, that's a part of the leveling up that I'm speaking about. And I'm not saying that we have to impress these people, or like how people will say, those people are looking at us. Come on, y'all got to act right. They looking at us. Who cares? So what? Let them look. They're going to look anyway. It's not about that, but it's about moving in a way that shows that you have some level of strategic intelligence about you. And so you can be received in a way and dealt with in a way as a person who has some form of strategic intelligence. All right, so that goes across the board for the clips that you saw and everything else. All right, I wanted to share that, and there's some other things I'm gonna share. I'm gonna put it in another video while I got a little bit of time. All right, but again, this is Chief Yuya, and thank you for tuning in, and continue to have a wonderful evening, dawning, afternoon, twilight hour, whenever it is that you're tuning in. All right, everyone, peace.